Hello, good good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Q&A at the 19th Mindanao Film Festival. I am Festival Director Rudolph Alama. We are joined by our friends from overseas. No? Um, we have Dear Father by Jonathan Lee. Jonathan Lee is joining us. Family Photo by Maulana Arga. Inheritance by Lanka Bandaranayake. The Age of Remembrance by Akbar Rafsanjani. Hello, I am joined by Jonathan Lee and Saskia Noor Angraini. I hope I pronounce your name right. Um, yes. Uh, how are you? What countries? What country are you based?
Hello, good evening, everyone. Can you hear my voice clearly?
Yes, clear, clear.
Okay. Hi, Rudolph. Hi, Jonathan. My name is Saskia Nur Anggraini, or just simply by Anggi. I'm the director of The Age of Remembrance. I'm coming from Yogyakarta, Indonesia.
And we have Jonathan Lee
Yep.
from.
So, hi, my name is Jonathan Lee. I'm from Malaysia, and my project is called Dear Father. Yeah.
Okay, so how are you? How are you guys? How's the COVID situation
Great,
there?
great.
Are you okay? Are you? Because last year that was always our question. How are you guys? How are you coping? I know we are hard hit by the pandemic, but how are you?
Yeah, I think it's a very tough time, yeah, for everyone. Yeah, I think in Philippines, in Indonesia, both in our countries. Yeah, but yeah, we have to survive, and yeah, it's been good. I mean, yeah, maybe in Indonesia, our the numbers of COVID's not raised very high anymore because of the. I think the vaccinations, even ours inheritance is very huge, but yeah, but I think the works of vaccination now is getting high in our country, in my country. What about you, Jonathan?
How about you, Jonathan?
Yeah. For me, I guess for my country, I can't speak for all Malaysians, but
Mm.
even I got my second dose like 4 months ago, and we're waiting for my next booster, which will be in 2 months' time. um our border was just not borders our like shooting process just opened like recently, like a month or two ago, so
Mm.
everything is slowly coping up. For me as a university student, we are still taking online, and yeah, we are slowly trying to think new ways of filmmaking and such lah. Yeah, but we are still coping with everything.
In Davao, here in Davao, where I think we have achieved herd immunity through vaccination. The malls are now filled with people. We have few cases, and I think several cinemas in Davao City has opened. They have,
Open, yeah, yeah.
I think they're showing Eternals. So I
Hmm.
hope I
I
can
think the
watch
same.
the. Yeah, I hope I can watch because, but I'm still afraid of going to
Hmm.
cinema houses and staying there for long. So anyway, thank you for sharing your films here. Can you let's start the proper this Q&A proper. Can you tell us about your films to the audience? Let's start with Jonathan.
About my film, I guess I can start off that this project was started as a university project during the COVID era. I guess this was our second project that we did during the COVID era, the COVID times where it was locked down, everybody has to stay at home, and we cannot meet each other face to face. So we had this subject called new modes of cinema, where we have to think of new ideas of how to show a short film rather than showing the typical side. And yeah, I guess the project was more to 90% was more to brainstorming of thinking of what do we want, how do we want to tell our stories, and also coping with COVID. And at the end of the day, how we got this idea, this story, is from one of our friends, who is one of the directors of the team, where he said that they wanted to tell this story for a long time. His story, his name is Barney, but we, but no, but they don't know how to tell his story. So we thought that okay, since we are also taking this assignment for our university, why not we try to tell his story for this project, which was not the initial idea for this assignment. And in the end, we use his voicemails from his father's phone to make a story through voicemails. Yeah.
That's an intimate portrait of the father of your friend.
Yep. Correct. So his a short story. His father passed away before COVID, and his mother also passed away quite a long time. So he's actually staying alone at home while his sister is actually working in Singapore. So that's why we wanted to tell a story about him, but we don't know how to tell his story. So we try to talk to him. We try to see what kind of stories that we can get from him without going to his house, without shooting a story like reenactment. So we thought that hey, his voicemails. We actually have his father's voicemails that caught him. 3 years of his voicemails, and I tried to listen to every voicemail, and I felt like there was a similarity of the voicemail which the father would always ask, have you eaten, have you eaten, have you eaten? And for a Malaysian culture, I'm not sure about other countries, our parents would actually
Yeah.
uh, they can't express their love like say hey, I love you son, not like the westerners cultures, but in Malaysia, our parents will always use love and care to by telling
The
like, "Have you
food.
eaten?" Yeah, about food, like even cooking to tell. If your parents fight with each other, they won't say, "Hey, I'm sorry," but they will just cook a meal and just say like, "Hey, just come down and eat." But they won't tell you, say, "I'm sorry" or "I love you." So we thought that hey, this story is actually kind of resonate with a lot of people. So why not we tell his story through the voicemail of his father asking, "Have you eaten?" And that's where the story starts, lah. Yeah.
Yeah, in also the Philippines, we call that kumain ka na ba? Kaon na ka? Kain is eat. That's always I always also remember my father when I arrive home from work or from school. Oh, kumain ka na? Have you eaten? That's, okay, let's go to the age of remembrance. It's by Sasya Kur Mangrani. It's about the Malaysians in Indonesia.
Mhm. Yeah, because Jonathan started from the COVID story, and also the background of
Yeah.
he made the movies. I will start as well with the background, because this is actually the story of my grandfather who died before I was born. And because of the story, actually, I already, how to say, I already want to tell this story a long time ago, but I didn't know how to tell the story because I didn't really get the story. You know what, like my mother always said like, oh, you really like my grandfather, and because you like history, you like looking for others people and give the comment to others people. And then I just know that. But then when I'm going to Malaysia before the pandemic in 2019, because my relatives is actually separated in both in Indonesia and Malaysia. There was Malaysian Indonesians living in Malaysians, and then my grandfathers actually built the party, the movement party about Indonesians movement in Malaysia, and it was before the independence, so I didn't know about
The
that.
independence of Indonesia or the
The
independence of
Yeah,
Malaysia?
the both before the independence of Indonesia and Malaysia. So it
So
was
1940s, like 30s, like that.
yes,
Because
yes. Oh
Indonesia was
no, but
independent.
then Indonesians, like Indonesians fully
Indonesian was
independent. Yeah, Indonesian fully independent is at 1949,
49,
and they held on 19 the movement itself is called Persatuan Indonesia Merdeka, or Indonesians Free Associations. It's built on the 40s, until in 49, so until the Indonesian get the fully independence. But it never told in Indonesian history. So I'm digging up the archive, and surprisingly, the archive is found a lot in Malaysia. But then COVID happens, and I apply actually this story to Indonesian's government. They tell that, oh, this is a story, actually the personal story about me and my grandfather, but this is the story about the minor history of Indonesians and Malaysians relation story. And I got the support from the government on the pandemic. That's last year, 2020. But then the border is closed, right? At that time, the border is closed, so we never the COVID numbers is very high, so I cannot going anywhere. Even because I was born in Jakarta and I'm living in Yogyakarta, it's like 8 hours by car from Jakarta. It's I cannot go to Jakarta because of the COVID. So all the things that I made in this film is from the archive that I have from
Yeah, the
my
pictures, the old pictures.
grandfathers. Yeah, all the
So
old
she has so
pictures.
many old pictures in
Yeah,
the
the thing
archive.
is that
So
he's
it's
a
all the
good
old pictures.
archiver. Yeah,
Always
but
there's right now we have so many pictures on the Facebook, but the old the ones before us they the old albums,
yeah,
archives.
they put the photo album like in my
Mhm.
background. Actually, it's all coming from his archive. And then yeah, thank God I I got that archive, and also I call the relatives. I think it's the same, uh, similar with the Jonathan said. Like I called the
So the
relatives
voice,
by
yeah.
voices, yeah, by voice, by video calls. And yeah, I think this is kind of the story of the explorations of the memories and archive from my grandfathers.
So let's to the for the viewers. Your grandfather is a Malaysian
Mhm.
in Indonesia, and he helped was one of those who helped in the Indonesians fight for independence with
Mhm.
the Merdeka, the movement he created. Because I remember I was reading history, the war in there was a war with Indonesia, the Malayan emergency.
Mhm.
Remember,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
Indonesia opposed the creation of Malaysia, but here your
Yeah.
father helped uh, for helped the or organized a
Mm.
movement to for a free Indonesia against the I think the Dutch or I think it was the Dutch that time.
Mhm. The Dutch. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Let's go back to Jonathan, our dear father. You said that it was a product of the pandemic, and we have so many films,
Mm-hmm.
even in our local films in Mindanao and several other places that was made because or as perspective of this pandemic, and that's true with dear father. Um, Aside from the pandemic proper, what the effect of the pandemic? What was the creative or challenge you had in making that film? Or the problems you face encountered?
I guess for us the challenges, let's not just say about pandemic, because I think the pandemic itself is a challenge for everyone,
Yeah,
no matter where you're
but the
from. But
creative one, yeah.
yeah, the creative side, I guess, like I mentioned just now, that this was not our initial idea. What how we started was we wanted to make a project about loneliness, and we were still insisted on doing that project, and our lecturer from our university say you can go on with this project. But um for this project itself, one thing which is hard for us is knowing what we want to do during that time, because we were actually lost halfway of doing the project, and we were not even focusing on Dear Father, the project itself. Dear Father was like um
A side
1 week.
project.
It was like 1 week before the deadline. We only know that
Oh,
this project was what we wanted to tell. And I remember during that time, not blaming my lecturer, but I remember that time he said that our idea is not that strong enough, and he said that
About your dear father,
about
the
Dear
idea
Father
of it.
itself. And during that time, my team were very, very depressed and have some mental,
Discouraged.
yeah, were discouraged about it. But we talked to some of our seniors, and our seniors said that, hey, if you really love this project, you should do this project, and not just listen of what other people tell you to do. So in the end, we told our lecturer, say we insisted to do this project, and we insisted to do this project, and we got the idea approved like 3 days before the deadline itself. And at that time, we were worried that we might not able to finish the project in 3 days. I remember we told him to record a footage of himself at the end and asked him to
Yeah.
send all his photos and voicemail to us in Google Drive. And we started editing the next 3 days without stopping. So I won't say COVID is a big problem for us, but knowing what we want to do was knowing what we wanted to tell is also hard. And for me, I guess I can't say for my other teammates, but for me, the hardest challenge for me was part one, where there was 300 voice notes to listen, voicemails from the phone that
So
the father had. Yeah,
you have to
300.
curate it for. You have to select curate it for period of days. Just a limited number of days.
Yes, yes.
That's
So
difficult.
yeah, for me it took me one whole day to listen everything. I even wrote down like the first voicemail on this day, what did he told his father, or like, and I took that one whole day to try to curate to see does this voicemail lead to the next voicemail, or is there any message in this voicemail, like what happens here, like in the beginning you can hear that he was okay by joining his father for having dinner or lunch, but slowly you can hear that he starts to have time more with his friends and not having any meals
Time
with
with
his
his
father.
father.
Yeah. So for me, I think that was the biggest challenge. I was worried when I tried to choose what to tell. I was worried that it might be draggy or it might not be important to the story. But I'm glad my team believed in me and they said that this would work. So yeah, I think that was one of my biggest challenge for myself with my team.
You said that one of your lecturers said discourage you.
Yeah.
When he saw your film, what was his reaction?
His reaction, man, that was funny. But his reaction, even though we didn't want any prize for our university, he said your product, it's your film, it's a good film at the end, but it's not a good process that you guys have of achieving to that film lah, because the other
So
teams were
rushing.
able to, yeah, we were rushing also, but the other team had a great great process of brainstorming, discussion, experimenting on how to tell stories. But for ours is like the end product was good, but the progress on getting to the story wasn't that good itself. But he was also one of the lecturers that pushed us to submit our film to film festivals itself.
You're lucky because you stumbled on a great story. A great
Yeah.
story will really, no matter how challenging it will really rise. So, so after that showing in your university, where did you pass it? Where did you submitted it? Aside from here, Mindanao Film. How did you discover Mindanao Film Festival?
It was also by the lecturer, the same lecturer that
Oh,
discouraged us. But I have to thank that lecturer also. I remember when we did the project last year, my team and I were not really proud of the project because it was only 3 days that we had to do, and there was no single cent that we spent on this project. Maybe the single cent we had was to treat him food lah for lunch, but we did not spend a single cent, and we were a bit worried that people did not like the project because it was not a documentary that people would see before. Because when someone thought of documentary, they thought like, okay, we're gonna follow the person, we're gonna know his story. But for ours, we just use pictures. Um,
uh,
we only had
the
pictures
the
and
voice.
voicemails. Yeah, and voicemails only. And the picture was limited. We only have like 12 or 13 pictures, and we didn't know what to do. So in the end, when we finished the project, we were not really we didn't even think about this project going for film festival. We just thought of this project of just as an assignment to hand in and just to quickly finish
That's
it.
a school report,
Yeah, just a
a
school
school
report.
project.
Yeah, but this year I think around June, July, the lecturer messaged me and said, I think your project has potential to go to film festivals. And I was a bit worried. But in the end, I just submit it because there's no risk, right? It's not like if I submit it, I'm gonna get murdered or assassinated. So, um, this festival Mindanao is our fourth film festival.
Where
Currently
else?
traveling.
Where did you, aside from the Philippines, where did you
Last week
submit?
we went to Jogja, Jogja Film Festival,
Sure.
and last 2 months was Uruguay, and the first film festival was in Malaysia. Yeah, a mini film festival, which is in Sarawak. Yeah.
That's great. When your friend, when he saw it, what was his reaction? The son
Ah, the son. During that time, he
and the
didn't
family.
know. Yeah, he didn't know what was the project about, and he thought that we're gonna do something cool of his project. So when he watched it, he didn't know how to feel because he just like, oh wow, this is something different. But after he said he had the same reaction as me, like 1 year later when he watched back the video, he started to understand what it meant, what how the video means to him. So when I watch it, I even watch it back when this video was posted in Mindanao YouTube, and when I watch it back, it feels different compared when the first time when I did the video itself.
So you, before you, the Mindanao Film Festival, you re-edited, you polished the film. It
Yep.
was different from the one you submitted to the university.
Not really much different. Just the subtitles part only. That's all.
Mm, thank you. That was a good story, no?
Thank you.
Okay, to the age of remembrance. Um, uh, Same question with Jonathan.
Mhm.
Aside from the pandemic, what was your challenge in making the film?
Okay. This is because it's the story. This is kind of the personal story, back to back with the somebody story, right? Like I will think that, oh, this is about my grandfather, but then I think I changed my mind 4 times, 5 times before I end up with this kind of approach. It was before, okay, this is the story just about him, but then I think, okay, I cannot just let him just be him in this story. I have to put my perspective, because I never see him. Like, he died before I was
Yeah,
born, and I didn't know what is about him. So I think, to make a contemplative. I don't know. I don't know what is it called, but I think first thing, like, this is just the objective story about him. But then I realized, okay, the pandemic happened. I cannot go um, further my home, and then I think about, okay, this is have to be explored in me and my home. And then I decided to involve my mother to told about this story. And then I also put my personal, how to say, like, my personal letters for him. Like, it's my longingness to want to see him, but I want to know more about him. This is not just about the history, but this is also about
your
the,
family.
yeah, like my
How old
family,
did he
my
die?
longing.
How old was he when he died?
When he died, I think it's 50 something when he died. 58, I think, before his 60s. Yeah, I think so, like that. So I think, okay. I think at the last last stage, I remember maybe I should wrote a letter about him, to him. Yeah. In this movie, so I made the first time kind of the hello, my grandfather, hello Dato. I never called him Dato before because I never see him. So I just known that Malay culture call grandfather with Dato, and I didn't have Dato. in my life. So I just like imagining him in my mind, and then I wrote kind of letter to Dato. I think like that.
Um, when you made that film, you discovered your grandfather because the materials. What made what characters or traits did you see that you inherited from your grandfather that he's that you see in that you see in him, you know, that
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
you have in you.
Yeah, that's actually the first encounter or the first entry point. Yeah, when I'm telling this story, the first entry point is I'm talking about how look like I am with him, because my mom always said like, "Ah, you always very look like my father." My mom always said like that, and I wondering kayak who's my grandfather? I didn't know him. I didn't know what he's love, but then I realized from this film, or from the exploring his archive and knowing him, trying to knowing him more. I think we share some similarities. Like first thing is about how we love about history and the true story of our country. It's because in the last film, when we watched the propaganda Indonesian's propaganda film, it was very popular in Indonesia, and it was used by the New Order era to claim the human rights violations for a long time ago in the era of Suharto. 32 years we are in silence in 32 years, but at that time when he was died, he tell to the friends that's in the same room at that time, said that, oh, this is not true about this film. So I think we share some similarities, same similarities about looking our country. That's the first thing. And then the second things, like I always, how to say, I always admire Benedict Anderson's thinking, and how he reflect about the imagine community, and how actually the nations before it's actually being colonialized. And I try to identify what actually he was thinking with what I am thinking. Yeah, I think it's kind of the I try to find his similarity and his interest, and also I also curious about why he made the Indonesians free movement in Malaysia, and why the party is built in Malaysia. And with this film, this understandable, because actually at that time all the colonialized country, I think it's including Philippines, um, have their anti-imperialism thoughts at that time. I think it's the time of revolutions here in Indonesia. Mm, and it's all over the colonialized country in Southeast Asia. So I always admire with the thinking of anti-imperialism and nationalism between and the concept of Nusantara, the concept of that we are actually in the same how to say, in the same cultural ethnicity, and before the nation, yeah, we are
Before colon.
colonized, yeah, before the colonized. So I think it's just scratch around on my head, and then I think I found out from him, then I put it on the stories, on these movies.
How is the Malaysians in Indonesia? How are they treated? Are they uh, okay? Are they is there good relations between people living and also the host of the people host country?
You mean like right now, or
Yeah, right now.
mm. That's also the interesting story because I put it on my introduction before when I apply for the funding. Yeah, because Indonesians in Malaysia, I think, is on love-hate relationship. It's always on love-hate relationship. Whether we actually have this very strong connection in the history, but like maybe right now it's not anymore, but maybe in the past five 5-10 years, like um it's always like, oh, this is our culture, this claim of culture, and also the problem of the migrations, also the problem of the people's migration, yeah, people's who work there in Malaysia. So I think it's always be a love and hate a story between Indonesia and Malaysia. But in this film, my perspective is about to tell that in past years we actually in a very good connections, yeah, and even Indonesians independence movement inspired people in Malaysia to be independent. So yeah, that's my standing point, because yeah, that's also because my relatives is a half in Malaysia and a half in Indonesia. So I think we're just like meant to be each other. Like even I think it's also happened in how we connected with Filipina as well in Singapore. Like, but then after the nations and the capitalism's coming, everybody is like, okay, this is my business, this is not your business, this is my culture, this is not your culture, something like that.
Okay. I remember just 2018 when we celebrated the ASEAN 75th,
Mm,
and we were, I think the Philippines was host, and it was they told there was an, I think the message was we are one,
mhm.
the
Yeah, yeah.
Filipinos, the Indonesians, Malaysians, Thai,
Mhm.
Myanmar, Vietnam. We are one. I think we're with technology like this, we can be closer.
Mhm.
Okay, we'll go to Jonathan, dear father. Now there's so many uh, filmmakers here in the 70. We have 71 films, no? And many are up and coming. They're still learning. They're still learning. They're also like students. And I was while listening to to the process of making it. What advice or could you give to this to the young filmmakers?
Uh, Based on my dear father, I learned two things. That in this project, number one is that there are so many stories to be told. There are so many great ideas. Everyone can come up with great ideas, but there are so many stories that are not being untold. Like this story is just a friend of my from my teammates, and we didn't know about that until my friend told me that, hey, his story is interest. He had this story, and we were like so surprised about it. And that's one thing, that you don't have to go very big, a very big story like about a historical figure. It could be your friends, it could be your family, it could even be your grandparents itself, which has so many interesting stories. And number two is that what we learned is that you don't even though making great films need a great budget, but I also believe that some stories, like our story, you don't need a lot of money. You don't need money as an excuse to make great films also. Sometimes great films comes from the story process itself first. If you have a very strong core story, I think that's more important than having a bigger budget or a big production. Yeah. That's for me.
Yeah, it's like there's the story is in front. You don't maybe you we don't know, no, there the story is just waiting in front of us. There's a story somewhere near us, not just we can go big or something, but there's a good story
Yeah, I
just
mean,
near us.
in COVID, it taught me to like observe what is inside your house And I mean, when we had this assignment for documentary, we thought that you have to find some interesting stories outside, but there are more interesting stories inside the house itself. Like even like looking at your grandparents, or when you go to school, what does your parents do at home? That kind of story to see what is different. Yeah.
What's your next after this pandemic? I think pandemic. I hope no the decline of COVID no, will continue. So and will I think we are starting to go back to normal. So what are your plans after this? What are you planning to film more? What do you have stories in mind?
I can't really say much about that because I just graduated last month from my university. But am actually currently doing a cinematic poetry, a story, but it's still in the writing process because this poetry, it's more like a documentary kind of poetry where it's almost similar idea father, but it's towards a person. So I am still writing in that process, and I think it's going to take a few more months to complete the story itself because it's more to observing and writing at the same time. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. Let's go back to the Age of Remembrance. Same question, because many of the participating films are made by young filmmakers. Many of the
Mhm.
participating films in the 19th Mindanao Film Festival are made by young filmmakers, Filipino filmmakers. What advice would you give to these up and coming
Mm.
filmmakers?
Yeah, I think mm, I think we have to see this as a challenge, and also how we play with the creativity, because we know it's like Jonathan said, like we know this is tough for everybody, not just for filmmakers. But then we also know that in this pandemic we see a lot of things, of forms, stories, and also emerging new ideas, filmmakers as well. I mean, people, and then both people and ideas coming because of the pandemic. Aside the pandemic, I think we can clearly, like for example, like myself, I really enjoy the online festival, even though it's not the same feeling with the offline festival. But then we can, the access is wide open right now, and then we can enjoy the film for just like in our hand. So I think it will be more challenging, even in the past, in the next years. And I think because of the I mean, in the time, in the context of the independent filmmaking, I think right now people more aware and give us more space to speak freely about everything. Like the censorship is not, I think in Indonesia right now, is not that uh, bad. And like the the support from the communities, government, and then the mm, like the cultural organizations is now very good. So there's a lot of opportunity ahead, I think.
What after this? What's your next
Mhm.
plans?
Yeah.
Do you plan of making films? And what stories are those?
Okay. The yeah, I still distributed this film. It before get the special mention from Festival Film Dokumenter in Yogyakarta. Mm, and also before, like, yeah, I think I want to travel this film wider. I think I really need an opportunity to screen it in Malaysia, like in person, like in face to face, so I know how the Malaysian people thinks about this. And yeah, of course, because this is actually, when you see the film, is kind of the untold or unsolved story. So after this, um screening, actually a lot of data that I get, and I now developing the feature film. It's more about that we talked before, more about the anti-imperialism spirit, the the one nations, and but it's still on the very early stage, so I cannot say much. And because this is the long process of the research, so I do believe that I think distribution for this film first, and then looking for another funding for the feature film next.
Okay, thank you, Saskia and Jonathan. Before we end, let us help. Let us tell our audience. Let us uh, promote your films
Mhm.
now before we. And also, I would like to ask for your
Okay.
parting statements.
Okay, for me first.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you, Mindanao Film Festival, for having us, the Southeast Asians and foreign filmmakers in your festival. I do believe that the stories that we made vibrant the situation in these situations. I hope that um, I actually really hope to meet a lot more audience and also feedback. So if you watch my film and then feels connected, or even feels uh, I don't know what do you feel about this film, please comment. Can people give the comment right on the
Yeah,
comment section, so I knows how your feelings, even if we
yeah. Live
cannot
stream.
see
We
each
can.
other's. Yeah, yeah. We can see the comment, and yeah. Please watch all the good movies curated in Mindanao Film Festival. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Saskia and Jonathan. Parting statement and help us our audience to promote your film.
Like the same also. Thank you again, Mindanao Film Festival, for giving the opportunity to show my project in the Philippines and the worldwide. I guess if you watch the film and you like it, or if any comments, you can leave it in Mindanao Film Festival's YouTube channel, and we are in Letterbox also. Recently by Jogja again. I really hope that the next time we will able to see each other soon, to meet the audience, to meet the filmmakers itself, and even meet the festival team for Mindanao Film Festival. Even though we are separated right now and we can only see each other pixelated and online, but I really hope that after COVID we get that same old emotions or feelings of meeting back each other again. So hope to see everyone soon again.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan, and thank you, Saskia. Saskia is of Age of Remembrance, and Jonathan, dear father.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your films of different from different countries, but you were able to share your films. I hope your next endeavor, next projects, you will be able to submit it to the Mindanao Film Festival. Daghang salamat.
Salamat.
We have the same
But
salamat. You have also
Yeah.
thank you in salamat in Malaysia. What's the salamat? Is it
selamat
salamat?
tinggal. Selamat
Um,
tinggal is goodbye. Yeah.
yeah, thank you, thank you.
Thank
All right. Thank you.
Okay, this has been another edition of the Mindanao Film Fest Q&A sessions with filmmakers from Malaysia. Uh, Again, the 19th Mindanao Film Festival is brought to you by the Mindanao Film and Television Development Foundation Incorporated in partnership with the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, the Film Development Council of the Philippines, the City Government of Davao Pasko Fiesta 2021. This 19th Mindanao Film Festival is an accredited event of the Davao Pasko Fiesta. And again, we have a spin-off event, the Metro Davao Family Short Film Festival, which will happen this December 24 to January 8. The 6 to 7 films are actually previous entries to the Mindanao Film Festival, and they are family centered and Christmas themed short films. I hope that you can watch them at the Facebook page of the Davao Pasko Fiesta. This has been Festival Director Rudolph Alama. Thank you and maayong gabi.